In this video, we're going to be adding more information to our servers that are displayed, as well as when we go to create a server, we're going to be adding more information. First thing, we're actually going to get rid of our host name, delete that, just get rid of that text box, and wherever we passed it in, we can get rid of that. Compile, save, leave that empty for now, and we're going to start on our actual we're going to start on our create server. Think of what we want. Actually, let's do our join server because that'll help us dictate what we want to see. So for now, for show, I'm going to add our user created. I want to add server slot into our text box so we can see what we have so far and what we want to add. So I'm going to add a horizontal box into our whatever you call it. I'm going to leave the anchor at top left. I want to make it stretch. Actually, how wide is this? So 930. Let's make it just line up. All right, let's make it a little bit shorter. Let's go to 60. There should be good enough. We're going to start adding some text into there. Not editable, just normal text. First one could be server name. All right, now let's make another one. Let's do the padding just like we did. So 30. Players. Let's do another one. Let's think. So we have, I know I want to add ping in there somewhere. Let's add a LAN. So LAN. Let's add ping. Um, Trying to think. That's really about all I can think of. So I'm going to set these all to fill. So fill, 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 fill. And I want to make an empty text box at the end. Set that to fill as well. Make it just not say anything. Why do I have 0 in there? So that way it's sorted out a little bit better. Let's see. We need to sort out that issue. I guess one thing we can do, we can actually make the text a little bit smaller since it is on the larger side anyways. Change the font from 24 to 18. Do the same thing for all of these. Oops. All right. So that should hopefully kind of keep it in the format of this. So now we need to set this up. So our server slot, we're adding more text to it. So Move our button over. Add a padding of 30. Actually, I can just make that all fill. I forgot about that. File save. So this one's going to be LAN. Another one. Font size is 18. This one was ping. Okay. So that's about what it's going to look like. It is a little off. So now we know roughly the size and it's all set to fill. Let's actually be lazy and set these all to auto. So we can change how everything's set up by the spaces set after it, like so. A little far. Okay, just like that. And save. All right, so now we just need to set up the information to fill all this out. So that means we're gonna have to modify our structure again. So we're gonna have that weird little issue, but we can go ahead and start. So we can create a, let's see, after player count string, we're gonna do uProperty. It's gonna be a bool is LAN, another uProperty, int 32, ping, just like so. Head over to game instance and we can set this up. So we have our, yeah, pretty much all of that. I'll set the URI index and continue this in the same order. So player count string is LAN ping, so we're going to use LAN first. So info dot is LAN equals result dot session settings dot b is LAN match. Then we're going to do info dot ping equals result dot ping in milliseconds, and leave that. And the info there is set up. So I don't want to compile just yet because I do want to add another structure to our header. And what that is for when we go to hit create server, I'd rather just have, instead of having multiple things like server name, host name, etc., I want to have, I'm going to create a structure and just pass that structure into it. So we need to think of what information we need to pass in. I'm going to do that above our server info struct. So it's going to be use struct blueprint type struct f create server info generated body, and now we need to think of all that like what we need it to be. So let's think here. So the way, for example, that we set up our server info. Actually, what happens when you set? Oh, so let's see, server set members and server info. Let's see. So I guess we'll just generate a new one and set it. So I'm going to leave that for now. I've never actually done this, so I'm just kind of figuring this out. So we need blueprint read write then our variable name. So we know one of the things is going to be the server name. So f string server name. We want to determine the max players, so int 32 max players. Bool is LAN. Trying to think of what else. Max player server name, whether or not it's a LAN match. Oh, what else? I feel like I'm missing something obvious. Let me look and see, just if there's anything else that we're already doing. Not sure where you're throwing a fit about. I don't care. So create server. We already know we're not going to be creating any dedicated servers at the moment. So we can do, nah. All right, we're just going to leave all that information for now. I'm going to close the editor. I'm going to save all, close it, and compile, because this is probably going to break a couple things. Oh, now IntelliSense is fine. All right, we built. Let's open our game again, or the engine again. Reopen our tutorial and server slot assets. Oh, so doing that actually, I guess just shut it down before you do anything. All right, so for create server, so we're going to do a, do I want to make another function for it? Yeah, we'll make a new function. So create server data, it's going to return a create server info, just like so. So we need to figure out how to create one of those. So new, or create server, make create server info. So server name is going to be the text box of server name. We need the max players, which we need to create a text box for, and then a little checkbox for the LAN. Let's go to here, we have our server name, create a new one. Or actually, I think there's like a slider. Yeah, literally right here, slider, duh. Can I add text to that? Ah, rats. So I want to do a horizontal box. Can add our slider into it, and then text into that slider. I mean into the horizontal box on the left side. Text block font size is going to be 8. No, let's do smaller. Let's do 10 or 16, sorry. All right, make our slider fill it. Gonna give this a name of max players. Make it a little longer. Give this a buffer of about 20. Move it over. And click on our slider. So minimum value 1, max value. Let's just do 10, so 0 to 10. Set the default value to 2. Now let's add one more thing of text. Change the size to 16. Gonna extend this a little bit further. Give it a buffer again. Change this text block to say, let's just do the default of 2. We don't need to make this quite as long. Something like that. All right, the font's set. So this is going to be our number that's going to get changed. So I want to set it as a variable. Max players, or TB underscore max players. I'm gonna call this one a slider, max players, just like that. All right, then we need to determine if we're hosting a LAN match. So I'm gonna do a checkbox. Now, what are the odds that I can add text to this? Oh, cool, I can. LAN. Change the size to 18. Default, I want it to be checked. All right, we're okay. I'm gonna add an event to the slider. So on value changed. Get our text box of max players. Set text. We're going to convert the value to string. Is this a float? Yeah, it is a float. So we might need to round it, actually. Let's see, round to int. Let's see what we have here. Type round. We're going to do just we're just going to round it, convert it to a string, and convert it to a text, and pass it in. All right, just like so. Let's just see what this looks like, and I'm on the wrong map. All right, so our slider's working. Create server data. So for max players, we need to get our slider. Do get value. Yeah, current value of the slider. Then we need to check if it's LAN. So cb underscore LAN. Gonna grab it. Type in get. We're gonna get, or maybe it's checked. Yeah, get check state. Or is checked. What's the difference? All right, we're gonna choose is checked. Oops, and pass that in. All right, now we got it constructed. We're going to pass it in as a new parameter. Actually, I'm going to move it all below it. And link. Oops, go back to the graph, the event graph. So on create server, we need to modify that function to make it take in our f create server info. So go down to create server, pass this in, pass that in. Whoops. Server info, server server info. Now we just got to set everything up to use it. So we're going to set server name. So server info dot server name. We're going to get rid of host name for now. We're not really going to mess with the LAN match. Set to use server info for LAN in future. What was the other thing? Max players. So number of public connections equals server info dot max players. What were the other values that we have? Yeah, so we're leaving it as that. And those are the only things that we have really to worry about right now. So I'm going to go ahead and compile. And watch all this break here in a second. Might as well disconnect that. All right, let's refresh create server. And here we have server info. So I want to get rid of that. I'm going to call create server data. Link it up. And pass the output into server info. So I'm going to change that param name, server info, and save it. All right, so let's see, that should all be linked up just fine, I think. Anyways, we're gonna have to set up our server slot to use it all. So this is gonna turn into a giant cluster. So I want to make actually a couple pure functions, I think. So let's see here. How do I want to do this? I'm going to clear out all of that. I'm going to create a new function. It's going to be let's see, can I make this like a pure function? Yep, make it pure. Make it take in an f string. Or server name. Make it take that in. Type's going to be a string. And I'll make it take in as well. What was it called? Player max, or let's see, player count. We're going to set this text box server name. Do set text. That's going to equal server name. We're going to set the player. So we're going to set text. We're going to pass in player count to that. So I'm going to call this function set play server name and player count, just to clean it up a bit. Server name, player count. I want to print out a string, make sure it actually calls it. Then we need to set our array index. So is LAN. We should have that. So for the LAN, I want to almost change that to a checkbox, honestly. But disable the click. So that's what I'm going to do. Change LAN to a checkbox. All right, let's see just how it fits in here. All right, so I need to give that a lot more padding. Let's do 80. All right, 200. Like a boss. Perfect. Ish. It's close enough, honestly. Get rid of a couple spaces. Screw it. All right, so now we have our checkbox. So I'm gonna add text to it. Change the text to say LAN. Change the font to 18. See if it stays the same. All right, so we need a little less padding. So 180. All right, let's do 150. All right, go up to 165. And that's about right. I'm gonna go a little farther though, so 170. That should put the text underneath of it. Screw it. There, checks underneath it with the checkbox to the left. I kind of like that a little better. So now we need to set that accordingly. So let me actually rename our checkbox. I'm in the wrong thing. So CB underscore LAN. Gonna save that. Can I get it? Set checked state. There's no way to, let's see, check. We're going to set as check, not check state. So if it's LAN, it's going to be true. And we need to set ping. Make that a variable. Call this one TB underscore ping. Save it. So get text box ping, set text. All so. I want to make a new function just for this. Call this one set server LAN and ping. All right. Make this take in a couple inputs. First one's going to be LAN. It's going to be a boolean. Second one's going to be ping. It's going to be an integer. So LAN's going into U, and ping is going into U. Save U. Oops. Now we're just going to call that function server LAN and ping. Actually, I want to make that a pure function. So LAN and ping. Just like so. Compile and save. So finally, we can actually give it a test. I think we're ready anyways. I'll make sure I'm actually still passing the crap into it. So yeah, it's doing the slider, creating server data, passing it all in. And we're passing in server info, so we should be okay. So server name is going to be my server name test, or just my server test. Max players, I'm going to do 8. I'm going to set it to LAN, create server. Go to this guy, find servers. Ignore this one. I forgot to remove that. Alright, so it's not changing it. So that's going to be a problem. It's probably an obvious fix. First things first, I want to actually remove that from our server browser so it doesn't appear anymore. Alright, so we're creating the slot widget. We're passing in what we need to. So in the construct, this should be our, yep. It never showed hello, so I think we actually need to, we can't have these as pure functions. So I'm going to make these no longer pure and link them up. Next time we do that second. And set array index. Link that up to the server array index. Compile save. Okay, we can actually hide these two variables in our struct later. All right, let's give this another try. Let's give it a, just do 8. My server. Start it, find servers. Hopefully it's good. All right, my server, 0 out of 8. It printed a little message, which we got to get rid of. And our ping to it is 31. And it is showing as a LAN, which is correct. So I'm going to check that. And I want to make a little change here. So for our server slot, our checkbox, we need to make this click-throughable. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Visibility. So visibility is going to be not hit testable. So we're going to click that, compile, save, and it should not, we shouldn't be able to click the checkbox or anything like that, but we should see the result. All right, so drag this to 4, test, create server, find server, view it. All right. I cannot toggle our LAN, so I cannot click it or anything like that. We see our server, we know it's 0 out of 4 players, ping at 36, join it, and we join the server. So, gonna close it down. And we're now good to go. We now have at least a somewhat decent, well, UI. So that's what it looks like. So we have our server name, our current compared to our max players, so we can see the amount, whether or not the server is a LAN, as well as we can see the ping to that server. All right, so I'm gonna reiterate what we've done. So let's see. When we create the server, what we do is we call our new blueprint function called create server data. And this essentially constructs a structure that we defined in C++ up here to take in the information that we want. So we want to know the server name, the maximum amount of players, and whether or not it's a LAN match. So we construct that and return it. Then we call create server and pass that structure into it. So in create server, all we do is, you can pretty much ignore this because we're not setting our LAN to anything at the moment just because of us using the null subsystem. So we're using, like, for the number of public connections, that's our max players. So we're setting that to our max players that we're assigning in our widget, as well as we're setting the server name to our server name key to equal the server name that we're passing in. So those are the only two things we're actually using right now. We're not using the, I'm gonna get rid of this host name real quick. We're not actually using our, what's it called? Our LAN check, because like I said, we're using the null subsystem to test with. And I'm not sure if Steam even allows LAN matches, so we're not too worried about that, but that option is there if you decide to go another route with it. All right, so next up, our server slot. So we altered this a fair bit for the construct. So when it's created, we get our game instance, all that, so we can grab our, so we can call our joint server from it. And then we go through and we have our server info struct. Now this is also a struct that we created in C++ a while ago. Contains a lot of info, such as this here. And I want to make a change real quick. So where we see current players and max players, I'm going to change blueprint read only. I'm just going to remove it just like that. Because we do not need our blueprint to see that. We want it to see all of this. So I want to do a quick little save all, close it, recompile, and reopen the editor so we can see it. All right, so now it's compiling. Let's open the editor. Open tutorial main widget and our slot. So you can see now our slot has only the necessary stuff we want to see. But what we're doing is we're getting server info, it's instance editable, and we're exposing it on spawn. So when we create it by adding a child to our scroll box, we pass in our server list information to our creates to pretty much the server info. So that way it's known by default. Then we're going to go ahead and break it open so we can see the member variables that are inside of it. And we created two functions. One where we set the server name and the player count. I'm going to get rid of that print string while I remember. And another one where we set the LAN and the ping just to keep it kind of organized and a little bit cleaner instead of having a bunch of nodes and stuff dragged everywhere. Then we set the server array index. which, as shown in the last video, was what controlled our what server we're going to actually join out of our list, and our list being this here, our search results. So all of these sessions that we found inside of this array, we're joining that index based on what we're passing in. Such as this here, we passed in the array index, we use join session, and we get the result being the search results of, well, the element in that array of search results. Well, we're grabbing the search result inside of the search results array at the index array index. Then we just do it is valid check and we join it. So that's pretty much all there is to this. I'm not sure what we're going to do in the next one. I can't really think of much to do right now, but whatever we do, I'll just see you there. So hopefully you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next one.